Value is completely, it's up to you, right? People, what's that line? People bitch about needs, but not wants. I'll complain about the cost of gas and milk, but not the cost of, my Bose headphones or my MacBook. I'll find a way to, get those things that I want, but the things that I need, I'm going to complain about it. Well, apparently being a PT is a need if you want to provide physical therapy, but it's not the only way you can do it. So do you want to talk about Stretch Lab, or do you want to go with the example of the chiropractor that stirred the pot?
Let me grab the example. So this was shared in my Facebook group the other day. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a ton of information. I know there are people listening, not watching, but the gist of it is, Anthony, I know a while back you were talking about hypothetically scheduling Medicare patients every 8 to 10 minutes, only billing a single unit, and then having patients work with a tech or a trainer for a cash price. And then they go through this breakdown of a chiropractor who is generating about $960,000 a year. I don't know if these are real numbers or theoretical numbers, but I will say, I know chiropractors doing this. I know a handful of them. I've worked with them. I know them personally. And so it's goes back to return on the investment, right? But what's most interesting about this, so the guys that I know doing it, they're doing it 100% compliant. They're not breaking any rules. They're not violating any laws. But think about that. So in this example, this person is saying 40 to 80 patients a day, 5 days a week. 40 to 80 patients a day, 5 days a week. This is a chiropractic office. What do you guys think? And I know you probably saw some of the replies. What do you think are the gist of the replies that other therapists are sharing about this?
Ethics.
I didn't see this at all. So this is the first time I'm seeing it. I'm assuming there's going to be some hatred just because it is a couple things, a chiro, and it's a different model that we all kind of do. Yes. And most of the therapists in this group are going to be delivering every unit of care or every minute of care or whatever, right? So I'm sure it is negative, and people are saying fraud and call your state department and call the secretary of I don't know of fraud.
You
whatever.
Nailed it. You nailed it. It was, when does he do documentation? Does he have to have an ABN signed? Such fraud. Pre-typed templates, pre-typed phrases. What terrible treatment. Quote, what terrible treatment.
How do they know?
These are the
things. They don't know. They don't know.
What's that?
How do they know what terrible treatment? That's a gigantic assumption.
So I'm a believer that if I want to truly see what the consumer values, I look at what the consumer does. Do you think you can have a practice running 40 to 80 patients a day and those patients aren't receiving what they want? Like, it'd be impossible. And again, I know the chiropractors that are doing this, and I know the patients that are going to it. I've got a perfect example. I've got a patient in my clinic right now. I'm treating for a condition. The spouse of the patient drops the patient off because the patient can't drive, goes half a mile up the road, gets a crack, comes half a mile back, and then sits and rides my bike for about 20 minutes while I'm finishing the patient visit that I'm delivering. He goes to that chiropractor every single day, 3 days a week, when the patient's in my clinic to get a crack. He loves it. He pays out of pocket. He would never dream of quitting. He gets everything that he wants for the time invested. And I've talked to chiropractors that'll effectively have 10 treatment rooms set up. Patients will be prepped and ready and laying on 10, adjustment tables, pop, 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 pop. And then they, as they leave one room, that patient's leaving and the new one's coming in. And it is absolutely a conveyor belt. But again, these are adults, back to Jimmy's point, making a conscious decision to get what they want. They are buying what they want. As much as we hate McDonald's, there's never a shortage of individuals buying McDonald's cheeseburgers and hamburgers and shakes. So it just drives me crazy that therapists put all of their biases on this. Then they complain that they don't make enough money. Yep. And, there are models out there that work, that satisfy the patient, that are compliant with third-party payers, and they just simply refuse to even investigate it.
Hold on. So throw that graphic back up. So let me just make sure the audience, so you didn't go too fast, because I think you guys are really smart. I'm a little slower. So what this person is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, let's say he's seeing 40 to 80 patients a day. He's billing one code for Medicare, and that's sort of like his Costco rotisserie chicken. Like he knows he's getting one unit of Medicare, and then it's everything after that is an upsell, and it's an a la carte, and it's a decision. While I've got you here, what else can I serve you with? Do I have that right?
Yeah, so he's billing an adjustment code, and basically for chiropractic care to be covered by Medicare, Medicare only covers the adjustment code and only in an acute situation.
Right.
So the adjustment code based on this email for North Carolina is $38.03. Then he charges $55 for, quote, a buffet of other stuff like
that is
pens,
not covered for
traction,
Medicare,
massage gun. And then they go through doing the math for 40 units at $38 a unit, plus another 40 cash pay at $55 a session, $3,721, 5 days a week. That's $18,600, and does all of the math leading to $80,000 a month, $960,000 a year.
So hold on a second. So all right, let me play devil's advocate or whatever. So if he has someone who comes in and gets an adjustment and that one unit of Medicare, they could leave.
Yeah.
They can walk out the door.
Forced to buy the other stuff.
Okay. Or so you're like, hey, you're done. FYI, if you'd like this is what this costs. He's told that person in a language that they speak, in words that they understand. If you do this is $55, or you can leave. Do I have that right?
Correct.
I don't know where the unethicalness comes. Now, you might not like that, but that's not unethical. That's your feeling, thought, and emotion that you are projecting. I'm not saying you need to flip your model. I'm saying, and this goes back to a discussion we had last week, which is, are PTs overeducated or underpaid, right? So you're educated to provide a really high value service, and what they value is the evaluation, and what they value, what insurance companies or Medicare value less is the treatment. So maybe you should be doing more of the high value thing. It sounds like this person understood the how many points each thing was and decided to score more points. He's like, well, I could kick field goals, that's 3 points, or I could score touchdowns, that's 6 points. So I'm just going to get a lot of balls on the 5-yard line and score a lot of touchdowns, and then let other people on the team kick field goals while I'm scoring a touchdown at the other end of the field. That's how you run up the score, which sounds unethical, except everybody in the room likes it. Or look at this guy's marketing machine. How is he seeing 40 to? Do you think new people are falling off of trees? Here's the one bit of information I would love. What's the repeat customer? What's the person coming back, like you said, 3 times
all
a
of them.
week?
Most likely all of them.
Has to be close to all of them, right?
Yeah.
So I would love to hear from someone in the audience telling me where the unethicalness lies, because that person who's doing that figured out the game and is playing it well.
So physical therapists probably that commented, and I don't know because I didn't see this post, but most likely because we all want to do therapeutic exercise and therapeutic intervention and neuromuscular re-ed, right? So we're kind of geared to, get someone independent and empowered, right? This model is just different. This is just a different model. You want to go teach someone how to do, prone press ups and, I don't know, like a hip stretch or whatever, and treat them for 2 to 6 visits or 12 visits or whatever, and then discharge them and say, bye. Like, I hope you have a nice life and hope I never have to see you again, whatever, which by the way is terrible for business. And it's a totally different model. And I want to tip my cap. I want to tip my cap to, this is me. This is not Tony or Jimmy, but I want to tip my cap to the practice owner of this chiro, because this, like Tony said about McDonald's, this takes operational excellence. You have to have, like Jimmy said, the marketing machine on the front end, but then the value and the actual deliverable that the patient and the client is getting for this repeat business to actually occur and to potentially be generating $960,000 a year. It has to be a great environment, a great experience. No one's getting burned with hot packs. No one is, getting cursed out. Like, it must be a great environment. That local community values this. They continue to come back. They tell their friends and neighbors about it. And then apparently they're doing 40 to 80 patients a day. That takes a great team. It takes operational excellence. Everyone's dialed in, and the actual paying clients, so the Medicare beneficiary / paying out of pocket for the non-covered, services, they see or feel value. And just because you don't see or feel the value does not mean that those patients or clients are wrong.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
might not like
And
it,
so
and that doesn't
if
matter.
we want to take this and just kind of borrow from it, this is where I go back to, I've got a lot of amazing therapists in my Medicare group, and I tell them in my course, I'm like, look, I am teaching you guys how to bill Medicare, how to create claims, how to do all this stuff. But at the same time, I need you to understand you have a big target on your back because of the direction you chose to take your practice. These are therapists that chose to be lymphedema therapists, pelvic floor therapists, complex neuro cases, complex amputees. We need you. Like, please don't ever leave the profession. These are amazing clinicians, but they have a giant target on their back because by the nature of their business, they are going to be delivering more services, billable units than anybody else.
Right.
And so one of the things we need to look at is they're so ingrained. So somebody had posted in my group, great question. Hey, I typically do a 2-hour evaluation. I could see Dave doing a 2-hour evaluation when somebody's paying $500-$600, right? Because they're buying all the stuff. But he wants to do a 2-hour evaluation for a Medicare beneficiary. And he said, I really value the education, building rapport. We go through all of the case history. We do all of this testing. We do all of this stuff. And I'm like, that's cool. But more than anything, let me ask you 2 questions. He was focusing on patient buy-in. Okay. Do you think if you're going through Medicare, obviously you're not getting paid. It's an untimed code. You can do a 2-hour eval. I can do a 10-minute eval. I'm going to get paid the same amount as you. But that's not what we're talking about. It's the patient buy-in. Do you really think if you did an hour versus 2-hour, the patient's not going to buy in? They're not going to, hire you when Medicare is paying the bill? They probably are. But in my practice, and I've tested it over 22 years, like I can do 10 minutes. And that patient feels so valued, and the word is feels so valued, feels so listened to, feels so heard, feels like they understand that I am on their side. I am here for them. I can do that in about 10 minutes most of the time. Why do I need to invest 60 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever, 110 minutes when I can achieve the same outcome in 10? And I honestly think, and you guys, I think will agree, patients don't remember 2 hours of information, no matter how much education you're giving them.
No way.
It's like 3 minutes they'll remember. They don't even remember my name. They don't remember my company name. I tell them one thing, they remember that. So from my perspective, a single unit visit 5 days a week is far more impactful, far more beneficial, far better patient outcome, better patient care experience than doing 2-hour sessions a week, because 90% of that 2 hours is wasted. What do you guys think?
That is a lot. That is too much. That is not what the person is looking for. They're looking for a solution. They're focused on the how, like 2 hours. Like I would love to see it's the law of diminishing returns. Like after a certain time frame, it doesn't work, right? It's not, you're losing and not gaining. 2 hours. If I went somewhere for 2 hours, I'd be like, I'm not going back. That guy doesn't know what he's doing. It took him 2 hours to do what another person could do in 20 minutes.
But what happens is we have confirmation bias. The patients who stay are the ones who love it. The ones who are really staying for the personal attention. Like, yeah, there are people out there who would love to absorb 2 hours of your attention. And it doesn't matter what you're telling them. They have no idea what you're telling them. They just like that they are the center of attention for 2 hours. But that's not what Medicare is paying us to do. I don't think it improves the patient outcome or anything else. And so it goes back to, what are we optimizing for?
Yes.
You don't have to see 80 patients a day, but I do think there is tremendous value to be delivered. Single unit visits. I work on one functional task, right? Patient comes in, post-op knee replacement. Okay, we've got 20 things that we can work on in this plan of care. Today, we're going to work on independent sit to stand. And for 10 minutes, we do dedicated independent sit to stand. You can ride the bike and you can do the other stuff and you can do your stretches and socialize and hang out with the other 6 to 10 people that are here. But you don't need my billable Medicare time for more than those 10 minutes. Right. But I do need you to come back tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And what happens is most clinics are doing 2 visits a week, 4 unit visits. That's 8 units a week. I get better outcomes with 5 days a week, 1 unit. That's 5 billable units a week. I'm saving Medicare money. I'm getting better outcomes. My patients are enjoying it more, and they're building compliance. They're building that muscle to, I do this every day. I'm just going to therapy. This is part of my daily routine. Gosh, I check so many of the good boxes.
And I'm surprised that Tony hasn't mentioned this yet. This Chiro model is probably using the Medicare as the lead generation. Someone calls in, do you take Medicare? Yes, we take it. Let's get you booked, whatever. And then at some point at the eval, or probably not over the phone, but probably in the in-person evaluation, the first visit, because I think did the post say something about $350 for the evaluation? Did you see that?
I'll pull it back up.
No, so that would have to be out of pocket, right?
No.
$350 with imaging.
Yeah, so Medicare doesn't cover imaging, the cost of imaging. So if they're doing X-rays, that's going to be an out-of-pocket cost.
Okay, so anyway, never mind. So this Chiro, this model is basically using Medicare as a lead gen, which Tony has talked about intermittently over the past several years. Like, get these patients in your practice and then say, oh, by the way, you want to hit the golf ball another 50 or 100 yards. Medicare's not paying for that. Oh, you want to walk. You can walk 2 blocks, but you want to be able to walk 10 blocks. Medicare's not going to pay for that. Or you want to go on your vacation in 6 weeks. Medicare's not going to pay for that. That's not medically necessary. So the one visit or the 1 unit code, and then the rest is out of pocket. The out of pocket expenditures, as long as those patients like the service, they're not going to call their credit card company and do a chargeback, right? So there's never going to be a retroactive payment taken back by the patients on the private pay cash side. Like it can happen on the Medicare side if you don't have great documentation, you get audited, whatever. So this model, guys and gals, like, why wouldn't you want to model this structure instead of having 4 units?
The answer of why people will not take this exact model, screenshot this, and put it into play tomorrow is the same reason. Well, sorry, some people will, and you'll never hear from them in a Facebook group because they're out there succeeding. They're too busy winning. And the reason that the people who are bitching about it won't do it is the same thing. And it's emotional because I feel like I shouldn't be doing this, or I feel like the people who said this is bad care. I would say the best, right? Don't people say what's the best KPI if you can only measure one KPI in your practice? It's completed plans of care or return visits or referring a friend. You don't get to 80 a day without those things. You do not, mathematically. I would love to know a couple things. I would love to know percentage of returns. I would love to know where, there it is. He said it's North Carolina. Doesn't tell me like is it a rural area, is it suburban, is it urban? I would love to know that. I'm going to guess it's closer to urban because 80 a day, it's a large patient population. But that's the reason that no one's going to steal this model is because it's emotionally doesn't feel good. So you won't do it. What you'll do in 6 months, we'll do the same episode. Are you mad at the cost of your education or are you mad at the return on investment? And that the same people will bitch about the cost of their education.
But to support them before we hit Stretch Lab, I will say that I bet most of the people who are commenting there, if I said, I will guarantee you $1 million if you do this kind of thing, they wouldn't do it. Because they would rather not have the money than do that, which is totally fine. I make those decisions every single day. You guys have heard me say it 100 times. I don't need a nicer house. I don't need a newer car. All I want is time with my kids. If I'm doing 80 visits in the clinic, I can't have the time with my kids. So I will always sacrifice additional income for the time that I can spend with my family. That is a conscious choice, but I'm never going to complain about somebody else doing it.
Nope. But you can't do both. You can't complain about not getting paid what you think you're worth. I mean, here's my next poll question. If you want to follow on socials and chime in, this is an open-ended. I said, if you think PTs are underpaid, what is appropriately paid? I need an objective answer. How much money do you need? And then my follow-up question is, how much have you brought in? Because you eat what you kill. Whether you're a one-person show, you only eat what you kill, minus expenses, or from a business owner's perspective, you can only have a portion of what the entire organization brings in. That's just math. So I don't know if you skipped that part, but we did take statistics as a prereq for PT. That's some math. Scott saying a patient's last impression is their lasting impression. Yup. And if it was bad and you felt flim-flammed or scammed, those 80 people a day wouldn't be coming back. And according to that thing, if that's true, they are. and they have no problem eating a Big Mac, the Big Mac version, and there's McDonald's all over the world. The only thing I'll close on this is the advice of when a PT student takes the NPTE is make sure you're answering the question that's being asked. Make sure you're delivering the thing that's being looked for. A 2-hour evaluation may be it sometimes, right? But it might not. But if you're delivering a 2-hour evaluation when I wanted a solution because my back pain is 1/100th of my problem set, get it to me how I want to do. Ask someone, do you want the 2-hour eval or the 30-minute? And if I want the 2-hour, give me the option to pay for it.